Live. And everyone has been pinged. So, how's everyone doing? This is a later time than usual because I was out of town for most of today. Warp says you should show my stream on your stream. Why? I mean, I could set it up, but I don't know what you're going to be showing. You could be putting some nefarious things on screen. Ah, yes. Let me activate that. All right, everyone should be able to send messages now. Sorry for being late, and then also being later than the intended late. I was on my way back home, and we ended up staying at a restaurant a little longer than expected. So on the way home, I was like, all right, how long is it going to take? And the guy I was driving was like 30-something minutes. So I'm like, oh, crap, I'm going to be late.
Who?
Huh?
I said, who pinged me?
I did. How's it going?
Good. You are louder for some reason.
Am I? Did you turn me up? And
No, you're 100.
all right. How about
Here, I'll
on,
turn.
I don't know, on
Hold
Twitch? Is it any different?
on stream.
Yeah,
Let me
yeah.
check.
We got Richie saying, hi, how's it going? Enjoying the most recent update. Got 2 new faces.
On Twitch, it's fine. I don't know. Maybe I
Suspicious.
did.
Who do we got on Discord here? Ziproot, Azure, Ferocious Doom, Northern Ireland but downgraded. Okay. We've got Anarchist here,
I need some context.
Korriban, Ebe, who was also in Twitch, just some dude. I thought that was Yoda. Cornier, Pincer, Tim Elder. That's not a name I recognize.
Couple people probably from
Hello.
the not, or the more our time zone, I suppose.
Now, I will say, I've been rather busy with life lately. I've not been keeping up too much with what's been going on. So, I don't know if any of the others here will have more to talk about. So,
We'll see. I
yeah.
did look at all the questions on my own time, and I kind of have some responses to them. Yeah.
Is there anything
Let's
that
see.
anyone wants to talk about as our usual topic to just mull
As
over
our
before we actually get to the questions? Warp says no.
yeah, our number one derail.
Get to the questions. He just wants to get this over with. He's like, this is way too late. We just got to get through the questions, and then that's the bare minimum, and then we're done.
Oh, that's a pizza. People are pizza posting.
Pizza posting, fighter and drone balance. We did that already.
We do that every time. All right, we made it a little better. There you go. There it is.
We did merge the change so that fighters that become disabled will now no longer be. Oh, that's. I'll turn that down. Will no longer be disabled by, or no longer be hit when they're disabled. So, I don't know. Has anybody tested that? Has anybody played with that a lot?
I've seen a few comments saying that it kind of clutters up boarding a little bit, but I don't think that's like a huge bad thing because I feel like if there's a lot of ships anyways that you're going to be navigating boarding anyways, like you'd probably be visually selecting your targets.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever really relied on
Like
using
B to
the
board
hotkey
like
to
nearby.
board
Yeah.
things. I mean, if I don't care what I'm boarding, then yes. But if I care what I'm boarding, then I'm clicking on it.
Yeah, you can. I didn't know that, but I'm not paying attention. You can sort by value too. I'm not sure how exactly. Is that just like
There's a
credit
preference
based?
for it, and yeah, it's credit based.
Okay.
It looks at the value of the ship, and then
Hmm.
says, "Oh, well, here's the highest value ship. I'm gonna try and board that first."
Yeah.
Doom says, "Yeah, noticing a lot of U-High and Cestor fighters left around. Yeah. Um, is that a bad thing now? That's the question. Is that a bad thing?"
Or target practice, and you have to target it now.
Translations when? Pretty far future, as far as I am aware. There's a fair few things that we need to get in place to have effective translations. Yeah, Benny says Unicode support first. That's one big thing. Ziproot also said that at the same time. Azure said that, but later. Legendary M says it is 1 a.m. in the UK. Yeah, that's why Warp wants us to speed through this.
Oh, sucks for work.
Richie says, mainly looking forward to more endgame content and whatnot. There's definitely more to come,
Hmm.
as always. Quick when? Asks Benny.
Do got a
I don't know. It's, what, 2 a.m. for him? So,
do got a bit to say about late game and like core game. I think we'll come up with the same questions today. So
yeah. I will say I'm sorry if I don't sound too enthusiastic right now. It's been a long day. I woke up at like 6 o'clock.
PM.
Stood out in the cold for a while, waiting for everyone to show up. Then got into a little van, drove 3 hours. Or no, it was like 2 hours. Drove 2 hours, walked around all day, drove 2 hours back, uh, went out for dinner, and then drove another half hour and change back home. So after sleeping in a
Oh,
bed that is not my own because I stayed the night at a friend's house because we were leaving at like 7 a.m. and there was no way I was going to get up and early enough to drive all the way across the county to get where I needed to be at 7 a.m. And at this point, I just kind of want to go to sleep. But I did promise this would happen, so we're here for it. Azure says Derpy lost all enthusiasm for Campfire chat when he saw that I was here.
new chatter and Twitch
Not really.
stream says Havoc says hello there. First time tuning in. Played a few thousand hours in Evenova 20 years ago. Don't say that because that makes me sound old. Just just discovered this game. Only have run 5 hours or so on it. Enjoying it so far. Not sure I messed anything up. I don't think I've joined the storyline yet.
If you're not sure,
Well,
then you probably haven't.
yeah. Well,
There's
first off, welcome.
yeah.
Um, I too grew up on EV. All three of them. So that makes me sound even older. But there is only one portion of the current campaign right now. We plan on 3 routes. So with only the one route, um, you kind of have to know where to look. There are some missions that direct you towards the main storyline. I don't know how much you want to be spoiled. This chat is kind of spoilery, so keep that in mind. But
Yeah. We don't like spoiler or tag anything here or
yeah,
spoiler warning you.
if you just want us to tell you where the story is, we can. But there's a lot in the game beyond that, so I wouldn't want us to say everything.
Northern Ireland says, not gonna lie, when you're a new player, it is normal to do all nighters on this game because when I was new, I didn't sleep for like a day, like four times before because of this. Yeah, yeah, I definitely put a lot
Yeah.
of time into this game when I first started.
Yeah, Richie says just keep poking around spaceports. Yeah, just like Nova, just keep checking them spaceports. If you don't want spoilers, you wouldn't say anything. Well, okay, so the main campaign spoiler for anyone else listening for whatever reason, get out of here. um, the main route right now is the free worlds side of the campaign. So look in their space. I'll say that. Okay, I don't remember if it's a specific planet or if it's just a group of planets though.
It's So we've made it easier and easier over the years to actually get into the main campaign. And one of
Mhm.
the ways that we made it easier was, I believe, Anarchist made it so that every uh, every intro string of missions has a specific planet it is guaranteed to offer on, but you can have a random chance for it
Mm,
to offer on other missions as well.
right, right.
So if you just travel throughout um, the entire galaxy basically and visit the spaceport everywhere, eventually you'll get things.
Well, yeah, and he says not looking for them, but not upset if it happens. And I mean, this just sound weird, but I think that's pretty cool because some people play this game just to do like the trade and truck and like just the general base of the game, like the combat or trading usually. Some people don't even care about the story, and that's kind of one of the parts about it is you don't accidentally join it. I mean, yes, you kind of like follow into it through conversations, but you have to hit yes or no eventually.
You can't be forced
So
into it by taking a cargo job to Earth.
yeah, yeah, you played Nova, you know what that means.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's cool. All right. Did you? I'm assuming nobody linked this, so I'm going to. There's a
Will you guys
message
ever get a
saying.
basement guy like all popular games have? I'm not entirely sure what that means.
I think we're all basement guys.
uh,
um,
Isayaz, I guess that's how that's pronounced. Hey, I think the follow-up missions for the Remnant to get high keystones is entirely bugged or poorly described because I couldn't figure out at all what I was doing wrong. I tried everything from installing the keystones in the ship to putting them in cargo of my main freight. Not entirely sure what wouldn't be working there then, because if it's one of the first missions that you get that you're talking about, then it should just be having them in your cargo is enough. Um, if they're all installed on your flagship, that would work too, I believe.
the
The
second set.
second set of missions, I'm not sure on that one then. I don't recall as much of that. Oh yeah, the follow-up. I haven't played that one in a long time, so I've not committed it to memory entirely.
All right. Do we want to move on? Oh, these people are still asking. Will we ever get more workers that work expanding the current map and only on like 3p an hour?
This is all free.
Yeah. I'm not sure what that is, but yeah, it's all free. And as for expanding the current map, someday in the far distant future. Or plugins, you can go download a plugin right now. Not sponsored. None of this is for money.
Just
I
some
mean,
dude has asked high reveal, I think 2 or 3 times. 2 times.
all right.
We're working
So
on it.
yeah, so I guess I'll say a little bit of this now. We kind of want to direct our attention back inward, if that makes sense. We kind of want to take a look at what's already in the game for the coming future, rather than continue to add like. But we still will, but continue to add new mechanics and especially new factions. We want to go back to the roots and start working more up from the base of the game again, and just start pedal to the metal in it instead of just kind of working everything everywhere all at once for whatever reason. So
Endless Sky fundamentalism, says Benny.
yeah, so High Reveal is on that list for the
I see new questions coming in live.
future. Yeah, I do too. There's a lot of questions this time, and they aren't all like half a page essay questions. Whoa, what was that?
What was what?
Big black screen on the submission list for some reason for half a
Um,
second.
I don't know. I didn't see anything. Your
Something
browser's just
crazy then.
freaking out.
Hates this question, I guess.
When are you guys adding body armor? It's more likely than you think, but not soon. Uh, there is a plan to rework how some of the hand-to-hand weapons work,
Mhm.
where body armor would make sense as a thing for us to add. Pincher asks, you mean like completing the Syndicate and Republic campaigns, or do you mean referring to existing code/data, including pull requests? So,
Yes.
what do you mean, yeah? So the plan really is, there's a lot of, or maybe I wouldn't say a lot, but there are various sections of story content in the game that are visibly unfinished. When I say visibly unfinished, I don't mean there's more planned for them and it's just not done yet. I mean like the Wanderer campaign just stops.
Yeah.
High Reveal just stops. So we want to look at things like this and bring them to completion before starting on anything new and or anything major that's new, including the Syndicate and Republic campaigns.
Yep.
So at the moment, what we want to do is look at High Reveal, get that all wrapped up. Then I'm thinking we could probably look into finishing the Wander campaign after that.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
High Reveal, when that's finished, would then lead into where the Wander campaign is at the moment. Then after that, I started reworking parts of the Free Worlds campaign to add a bit more flavor and meat there that could be used by the Syndicate and the Republic campaign. So there's actually something in the story to hook onto instead of the Syndicate and Republic campaigns being entirely like thrown into the wind. That I would like to do. So that's like 3 big things there.
So,
and then
you're asking, is that a really reason?
The new stuff.
and
then the Syndicate and Republic campaigns.
Yeah. So Jura asks, is that really a reason to freeze the other new content though? It's not like a 100% absolutely nothing beyond this point except for this stuff. But in a general sense, we don't want to add like anything completely brand new and largely expansive until we do kind of wrap up at least a few of these loose ends.
We don't want to start a whole new campaign that's only the intro at the moment. Is really what we're talking about. That type of stuff. That isn't to say that all new content is being frozen.
It's just one of those, once we finally get some of these loose ends wrapped up, then it's almost free game to start adding almost anything to the game.
Yeah.
Within reason. So.
Viewer asks, is there an actual campfire? No, but you can make one. Rosa asks, what's this chat about? Once a month, we gather to basically do a Q&A.
You're not in here, so I'll type it.
Just some dude asks, any more Remnant campaign to complete? That would be a Zichaz question.
Yes.
Yeah, Benny says whenever Zichaz gets to it. Doom says, I mean, we've been saying, can we please get a Syndicate and or a Navy campaign for, 8 years? And no luck. So saying we don't want them right now is worth a shot at least. Yeah. So if we change how we ask the question, maybe it will manifest.
Any plans to change our jumping works? Not really, but what do you have in mind?
Yeah. Well, are you thinking of something?
What do you mean?
And then Northern Ireland said we need a UI revamp, and Cornier is asking, what do you mean by this?
I don't terribly hate our current UI.
Yeah, Northern Ireland says the UI is kind of basic. Would look cooler if there were more colors and maybe kind of in a box or something, not covering the entire screen with vignette or whatever you call it. I wouldn't say that's like... I mean, the UI itself is fine. That's more asking, can you change the theme of the UI, the aesthetics, which is different than saying change how the experience of the UI is.
Yeah, it's kind of a stylistic choice. Our UI is kind of more transparent with the actual gameplay, and I think what you're asking is games that have actual like mechanical blocks or like screens for the different facets of the UI, which is a little bit different than what we're doing.
Yeah, we don't want the UI to be too in your face and colorful and all that.
Yeah.
So it's intentional that it's very basic, very minimal, not too much in the way of color.
This is. I like this question. What is the most satisfying part of creating content? Playing the game? No,
Getting it
I
merged,
don't.
says Penny. The dopamine hit when you get it merged.
Yeah. Depends on the maker. That's true. That's a good
Yeah, at least for me,
point.
I just like building up something that I can be proud of.
Mhm.
You know?
For me, it's making it. It's one of those like, um, how do you put that? It's where you, yeah, at the end you can look at it and think, oh, that's pretty neat. But it's the actual making part that's interesting for me. Because after that, I'll be like, oh, now I'm not doing anything. I'm gonna go make something else. Yeah. Posting and plug releases that there's a mod update. Cool. I'm glad you like the channel.
Yeah. Doom says the most satisfying part is the part you're good at. The least satisfying part is whatever else you need to do.
Yes. That's me as trader.
Havoc asks, would you ever pause delivery of updates or new content to work on better backend for campaigns, letting you then be able to pick out a ton of story pretty much as fast as you can write it or think of it or push out?
It's been thought of, but
Yeah, I think that we're trying to keep a pretty consistent update schedule.
yeah,
And if there's something that we're working on that isn't ready, then we just don't add it.
yeah.
It's not like we'll start out an update and be like, oh, we kind of have an idea of what we want done for this update. But if stuff doesn't get done, we don't like wait until it's done before we push out that update. We'll just be like, all right, well this is what we have, because we want to try and keep things pretty consistent with releasing new stuff to you guys. Because if you're pulling down the latest stuff from GitHub, then you're always going to be on the latest and greatest, whatever's up there. But that could potentially be buggy, so do that at your own risk. Then the actual releases is just the stuff that goes out to everyone who's on Steam or GOG, or who pulls that down the releases from GitHub. That's most people probably. So we don't want to delay things for most people just because like one or two things for an update aren't finished. Typically speaking, the like development is always going on. It's not like, oh, an update's about to come up, so let's just like drop everything and only finish whatever's in this update. Now there is some aspect of where which we do have to drop a few things for the sake of getting the update out, but then we pick them right back up as soon as the update's out. So it doesn't really slow us down to push out consistent updates.
All right. Well, I'm gonna address this last one, and I think we should start getting into the actual questions. But Essayist asks, can you guys implement the fork that includes shadows for ships? If this is referring to like normal maps and having dynamic shading, that was brought up before in a kind of a larger PR by Cornier. So generally, we're not generally we said no to that because it adds kind of more complexity to the creation process, which we don't want to make other new people kind of like get scared of making new content for the game. And the way that systems work in the sky is most of the content is going to happen directly on the screen, and it's not going to happen super far away. So when I imagine a dynamically shaded system, I'm thinking like this small little sun at the center of the screen is lighting these ships up and shading from the opposite sides, things like that. And if a ship is like at the bottom of your screen and half that ship's pitch black, and if a ship is flying above this object that is a couple pixels on the screen, depending on the star, it looks really bright, then that's going to be a very large contrast just within your monitor screen. And I don't think that looks very good. So Warp says the answer is no. Yeah, so generally kind of no for the various reasons and whatnot. If something is like extremely done well, you could maybe consider it, but for most reasons right now, it's a no. What about abnormal maps?
We'll think about it. Cornus says, one day I'll make a good implementation and you will merge it. Ferocious says, bad
Haven't we
answers.
already? We've already merged your
No, he means a good
overlay.
implementation of normal maps.
Oh, okay.
Of the ship shading, rather.
All right. Uh,
Yeah, and
Your
Havoc
super
asks,
demon
how does
says.
shadows even work in a 2D game? Well, the idea in the past has been, since all of the ships are actually 3D assets that we export a top-down 2D PNG of, you could create a normal map of every single ship in the game and use that to generate shadows on the sprites.
Mm-hmm. Tim says I really like pre-rendered sprites of Nova with banking and shadows baked into them. Um, and this guy's kind of more based on Escape Velocity and Override, like the two first games, rather than Nova. I think that was what MZ was going for. He did like Nova as well, but there were some parts of it like he didn't like, and I think that's where some of his creative differences with how this game came out to be. So, but in general, I get the hate for sprites that have shadows that are baked into it, but I think it still has its kind of own aesthetic, and that's kind of what the game's going for. So, yeah. All right, we should probably get to the actual questions.
Yeah,
There's a
let's
decent
move
amount
on
of them.
to the questions that have been submitted in the past here, the past month.
All right,
First
first one's
question.
extremely
This is
important.
important. Do you like cheese? Yes.
Yes, I don't have a particular favorite, but I like pepper jack.
Yes, pepper jack is good. Doom says yes as well. Okay, thank you for this information. Next question. Is the conglomerate still being worked on by Derpy, or can other people take over development? I feel like someone asked this on Discord, because this is from the 10th of March. Somebody probably asked this on Discord. So I would say I never really worked on the conglomerate, so to speak. It was more like, oh, I have an idea, let me write it down. And then that was it. Like, there was never any systems made for them, never any ships, outfits, anything. It was just, here's a bunch of ideas, I'm going to throw it on a sheet somewhere, and then Darcy ended up taking that and putting it on his creator's handbook wiki. What is the conglomerate? It was just an idea for an alien faction I had years ago now. The general gist of it was basically the coalition, but like another grouping of various alien factions that are all in the same hyperspace region.
It's a Gugno ship.
But the dynamics between them would be different.
Yeah,
Whereas the
'cause
coalition is like, hey, we're all equal here. The conglomerate would be like, yo, we got this one group that's like the emperor, and he rules over the rest. Benny says we should merge Knave. I don't know what's the licensing on that. Merge ES into Knave? Oh no.
next question is how are fighter changes going? Did we kind of answer that already? um,
I mean, yeah, there's
they're
stuff
right.
being changed. We made it so that,
Yeah.
like I said before, a good chunk of people joined, I guess. Fighters that become disabled will now no longer be impacted by projectiles unless they are being directly targeted, which typically will only happen if everything else is dead and one of the sides is trying to wipe out all the ships of the other side. They will still take explosive damage, so that includes any explosive weapons, but also if a ship explodes nearby, that will still damage the ship. But otherwise, the survivability of fighters and drones has been massively increased if you're playing on continuous. This means
There's
that you should
also
much, much, much less often lose your own fighters. And it also makes it relatively easier to actually capture enemy fighters because they're more likely to survive combat. And that means if you're looking at, like, say, Core Sestro fighters, they're a lot easier to recoup if you do end up losing your Core Sestro fighters that you've stolen.
hmm,
There are
there's
some
also
other
if you
things in.
are
in
Yeah,
mind?
there's
If you want to go
a
ahead.
mass balance PR that's open right now that is looking pretty promising from what I've played, and I think Warp has said there's some pretty good things about it too. Fighters are even faster there,
I need to play
and
test it. I still haven't gotten around
oh,
to that.
combat drones are just off the screen now. they're, they're zooming, but yeah, some good things coming, I think.
Zipper says the Endless Sky lore is anything you read may or may not be true,
Yeah,
effectively
that's true.
speaking. Um, I saw someone ask earlier. Um, I lost the comment. It was like, I don't know if it's taboo to talk about other games, but thoughts
Oh
on
yeah, I
Nave? It's
respond.
based on Endless Sky as well. I mean, we know of it. I played around with it a bit,
Different
but
TV
I
to
prefer
argue.
Endless Sky for obvious reasons. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I encourage people if you want to play Nave, play Nave. We don't have any shade or anything.
I think it has a unique take on the EV kind of I was gonna say drama. No, the EV genre, not
I
drama.
misspeak, Ziproot.
It's a lot more arcade like than like we are in almost every other copy I've seen of EV. So me personally, I'm not huge on how like excessive the UI is, but that's probably it's not like me hating it. That's just me having a preference towards like things like ours, which is a bit more like simple. But it looks very different, and that's what I like about it. So very different from what we're doing.
Northern Ireland says you should add an event that happened randomly, not when it's made to happen specifically, but randomly, like stock market crash making things more expensive or a virus making medicine become more expensive. So, like, of random events that cause trade prices to fluctuate. There's been talks about stuff like that. The thing is, right now, we don't have any mechanics to easily make that happen because every single planet has its own trade prices. And there is some random fluctuation already, but that is based around what the default trade price is. So if we wanted to
Mhm.
make something that would cause trade prices to momentarily spike, we would need to go through every single planet in a region and redo all their trade and then flip it back when everything's finished. It wouldn't be the cleanest right now. We would need to add new mechanics to effectively do that.
Mhm.
All right, let's move on then. Will there be more stories in the future involving the alphas? It would be nice to see them in a context other than them just being the enemy. Well, there is one mission in Coalition space. Maybe you could say the alphas are still the enemy in that case, but it's a bit more neutral. There are definitely are plans to have more alpha-related content in the future at some point. It's just that it's kind of it's admittedly a touchy subject. They're very built up in the existing story. So if we were to do like an alpha story, an alpha campaign, we would really need to make sure we do them justice. Sure, it's just retcon
Right.
it. No, current alpha lore is kind of bad. I disagree. Super says alphas are pug backups. In what way?
That is a take I've not heard before.
Yeah, Benny says current alpha lore is biased. Write the other side of the alpha story. This is true. Everything you know about the alphas is from their enemies.
Alpha.
All right. This next one's long.
Did you want me to read it?
If you want,
I want.
go
Okay.
ahead.
This question, um, I don't think this is a question, but I'll read it.
It's more
I
feedback.
think because yeah, it is feedback. I guess right. To be very honest, I am not seeing any positive impact after the developers pushed fleshing out human content at a higher priority than alien factions. Human content remains more or less a study in development. The merging of C Core is awesome, but I think it would have been done anyways without the push. Meanwhile, alien content development seems to have stalled. Wanderer Part 3's future is unknown. Korra campaign has stalled. Bunrody and Gegno stuff are slow in implementation, Bunrody in particular. And I have to scroll off the screen. Various alien factions are getting merged. Seems more and more... Oh, and various actions getting merged seems more and more like distant dreams. I think that restoring the previous status quo is better than the human content push.
Well, I
I
wouldn't
actually have...
particularly say there was a specifically human content push.
Yeah.
And on the topic of Wanderers Part 3, we actually just talked about actually wrapping that up
Yeah,
in
so
the near future.
in
So
terms of like alien content, it seems like this is kind of blending in together all the different kinds of it. What we talk about when we're saying a more focus like towards the base of the game, we don't just mean human content. So yeah, pirates is one of them that I'm kind of working on. It is kind of slow in the progress right now, but that also includes wanderers, which was mentioned here. That also includes like high reveals, so like tangential stuff like that. Yes, adding absolutely new factions, that is admittedly going to be a little bit later than some of this content. So um
Ashir asked, when was this question submitted? March 24th. So no, it was not just submitted right now in response to
am
what
I
we were
working
saying.
on products or is it still Lake's project? I guess that depends on what you're talking about project wise, because some of the pirate groups is Lake's project, some of it is Ebrios's project. I'm just trying to work it in to fit with the game, and yeah. So one thing I will say about the pirate content though is, admittedly, shoving Secor in the way we did, it is interesting and it is more new content, but moving forward, we're probably not going to shove in each little like these little separate groups of pirates that we're adding across the map. And instead, we plan on kind of taking a look at them all collectively on GitHub and PRs. And then once everything is nice and fits together with each other and fits with vanilla, then we put it all in at once. So, because if we put things in one by one, then they're like we're not really looking at the bigger picture by doing that. We can on the side, but it's kind of like drawing a picture. Like when you draw a picture, you don't draw the same part until it's completely finished. You go around the picture to make sure that you're doing it as best as you can all around the drawing, and not make one eye look really good and then the second one is like, a circle. But so there is a push for human content, but it's not specifically for human content. It's more so for the kind of general basis of the game. So,
I mean, there is
um,
an aspect in which we've kind of tried to focus on the early game a bit more
yeah,
recently, and well, human space is the early game, and I think it's definitely better to have a very beefy, healthy early game because that's where everyone starts off. You know,
yeah.
you want the game to look as good as it can when you first start playing it. And Ferocious points out, I don't think the devs can actually make content creators do anything they don't want. People can do whatever they want. When the devs say they want to focus on something, that's what they'll focus on doing themselves, and or what they'll prioritize reviewing to merge and close. So yeah, that us saying we're going to focus on XYZ doesn't mean, oh, you can never do anything else that's not what we're looking at the moment. Just recognize that if you do something that's way out of left field from what we're looking at, it might take us some time to get to it.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of one of those. It's been many, 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 many years of people like interested in asking for us to start working up on that main content, and we kind of feel the need that if we are able as development to focus on these kind of larger projects, not all at once but one at a time, and we can still do stuff on the side. This is not to say we can kind of review things on the side, maybe not necessarily merge it outright, but we can still like kind of answer questions and kind of peek at smaller like changes or things like that. Having a kind of directed focus for us as developers will help quite a lot with getting the game running. So and the development right now is pretty fast, and it's a lot faster than it used to be. But it's about time that we kind of start, sitting down and working with what we have before worrying about what we can have.
Corner asks, are there any plans for more ways to retry failed/declined missions? I would like more such cases overall. because you can probably count on one hand the number of times in the game you can actually do that. So I'm thinking like Katya when you karate chop her, the Tomek introduction, you get one retry on that. That's two. What else is there? Like, there's not a lot of places in the game where if you fail a mission or decline a mission, then you can still pick something back up later down the line. But I would like stuff like that, or would like alternative paths that you could take if you've done something that kind of closes you off to one path. One case I can recall is I actually opened an issue for this on GitHub, where if you are hostile to the Quarg, you are completely locked out of like the back half of the Wander campaign, because at a certain point you're asked to land on a ring world, and if you're hostile, you can't, and there's no way to land because you can't bribe them. So the campaign just dies there because you can't land on the ring world, but nobody recognizes that you can't land on the ring world within the story. So that's one of those cases where I think we should definitely add some more paths there. That's not quite the same as retrying a failed or declined mission, but it's the same idea of adding more ways to engage with the story aside from be friendly to everyone except everything. Because that's, admittedly, that is the story right now. Accept every mission you get. Don't piss anyone off. You don't need to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Elemen on Twitch says, my biggest non-gameplay mechanic complaint is that the Remnant is entirely a one-sided fetch quest. All you do is run around doing things for the Remnant. Granted, there is a ton of lore and stuff. I just don't like the lack of routes. All the options you have are help the Remnant or ignore them. I mean, that's kind of what I just said about the entire game. Except the missions or not. Richard says, yeah, it's possible to soft lock with missions too. A few of them, yeah. Element also says the deep missions lock you out of the campaign if you get too far into it. Do they? Which campaign? Element says, I mean, you can fight them, but why? I mean, yeah, that is the question right now. You kind of should be able to fight anyone you want and have some story come out of that. It's just that the I guess you could say the bias in storytelling is to tell the friendly route first, and then we might tell the hostile route later, but no one's actually attempted that. I guess like with the main campaigns, the hostile route to the free worlds would be joining the Syndicate or joining the Republic, but those just aren't done yet.
Danforth swears. You fought the Quarg? Why? For that matter, how?
Yeah. Azure says it kind of soft locks you from the Remnant now that scanning makes them hostile. True. This is true. Got to build up your reputation first. Although I don't know if they probably don't tell you that they become hostile if you scan them. That's probably like something the player just figures out. We might want to relook that. I think
they have like
provoking
that
them.
Say, please don't scan us.
I mean, yeah, but I think if we change it so that provoking them still makes them temporarily hostile, but if you don't attack them, it doesn't incur any reputation hit. That might make more sense. Because that way, if you scan the Remnant and then leave, then there's no penalty there. And you're not locking yourself out of anything. Corner says, if you're part of the Remnant, you should be able to scan them with no penalty because they say that the Remnant can scan each other often. Or that the Remnant do scan each other often. That's a bit weird, but okay.
How would you do that,
although that implies that you need to get a certain distance along the Remnant campaign before you should take the deep missions to investigate them. When I don't know if that should necessarily be the only viable route there. They talk about it when you get the license, Azure. A different Benny Lux, says they should add 100 hostile shuttles at the beginning.
Joke's on you, shuttles don't have weapons.
Give them all blasters. See how long you
Yeah.
survive. All right, let's move on to the next question here. Core
All
members
right.
don't reflect their activity in Endless Sky community Discord anymore, with most of them not being seen on the Discord at all, or at least in non-core channels. Okay.
Question mark?
Is that... I will say that I've never really intended to make it so that once you become a core member, you have to keep posting in the Discord server, otherwise remove the core role. So there definitely are a lot of people with the role who aren't around anymore, but what do you want us to do with that? Like,
Mhm.
demote them? I'm not exactly sure what the point is here.
I think this was trailing from the last question, saying how they think the direction of things is going in a way that this person doesn't agree with.
We don't
But
know if this is the same person.
that's true. This is a couple minutes apart from that.
Only a couple minutes, you say?
Hmm.
It's 2 minutes later, so yeah, 2 minutes and change. It might be the same person, or it might be two people just so happen to post it around the same time. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt here.
Hmm.
Benny says being a core member isn't as good as it sounds. Yeah, you have to pay a tithe. It's a whole deal.
You have to be on call whenever anything happens.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, we kind of can't like tell people what to do, and the process of the game changes over years. So
We could, says Azure.
we could. I like to say that um, it's kind of a natural thing. I'm not like saying, oh, that's a great thing, but the core members of the game, like back when Derpy was a wee lad in the community before I even existed, were a way different group than the ones that are now. So
Yeah. We didn't even have
things
Discord all
change.
the way back then.
Oh, I remember
Think
the
about
Google
that.
forms. You know what? This was way back when. Like I looked at Endless Sky for like a couple weeks after, like in the middle of, I think it was high school. I don't remember. Was it high school? Anyway, um, and then like it was like a couple years ago before I came back to it. But when I looked at it during that time and kind of played with it, that's back when the Remnant were first introduced to the game and still had human weapon sounds to them. And the first thing I did, little me was like coming from Nova still, and I was going to the Google forums and I asked, I don't remember if it was MZ or just someone else who responded to me. I asked, "Will fighter bays have sounds?" And someone said that's not a priority. 6 years later, I put it in the game. So you want to talk about priority and waiting for your idea? I know. Yeah. Google Forms.
All right, with this
Not the
next
best.
question, this is clearly just the same person spamming questions. Well, not spamming, it's 4 questions that look like from the same person, but whoever this
Oh,
is,
that's
I feel like you have a
interesting.
very odd conception of the game. Because this next question says, with the Quarg homeworld drama, are there any other landmine topics that are not to be talked about? Because inquiring about that seems to be a somewhat common lore discussion. I wasn't aware that we had any drama around the Quarg homeworld where you weren't allowed to ask about it. Like,
I think
where's this idea coming from?
it's because when people ask it, we don't give a direct answer. We just say, "Who knows?" or something like that.
I mean, but we don't have an
Um,
answer. It's not in the game yet,
yeah,
so in
yeah,
effect,
and
like,
it's not in the game. We still aren't sure if slash where it would be. So there's not much to say there.
yeah, it's just,
We're the core. Yeah, true. Fourth
yeah,
wall.
there's plenty of stuff where it's like we don't have an answer just because we haven't done anything around it. Yeah, and
Mhm.
everyone's saying like, well, what drama? What drama? I'm not aware of drama. The anti-missile drama.
Oh no.
Um, just some dude asked this a couple times. Would it be possible to alter how your fleet behaves with regards to combat? I would like to be able to have carriers stay away from the battle without having to manually move them away via move commands. There's been talks of
Fleet
such things.
formations and commands. It would be a really big undertaking, though, from what I've seen.
Yeah, the biggest thing would be like how would it actually work UI wise?
Yes, we are scared of AI. I'm scared of AI. I don't know about them, but I am.
Sog, the AI Führer.
Why do you think I don't allow AI art? No, I'm kidding. That's two different types of AI. You didn't put ChatGPT in it, did you? God, I hope not.
Endless GPT.
Next question. Actually, there's a common trend of no questions here, but it is feedback. Please bring back pull request discussion streams, and I'll add the question mark. Or maybe do. Oh, here's a question. Or maybe do the PR discussion campfire chat over Discord. Having a clear aim and agenda is far better than just a discussion thread like the current campfire chat thing. I disagree because every time we do these campfire chats, we get a lot of questions going. We answer to a lot of feedback. We kind of get we have a clear aim and agenda, and we talk about that during these discussions. So I'm not sure what isn't the clear aim or agenda here, unless you're just kind of this question is asking if these discussions should be explicitly about development in the game and PRs themselves. To which I would say, uh, pull request discussion streams aren't something to bring back. It's something that we have time for. And as Derpy said at the beginning of the stream, he's been busy with real life
Yeah.
lately. I don't have a lot of time to do pull request streams either. I'm doing a playthrough of the game right now, but
Yeah, it's not like pull request streams have been completely
yeah.
replaced by the campfire chats. The purpose of the campfire chats is separate from the purpose
Mhm,
of streams that developers do reviewing pull requests live.
mhm,
So it's not like a one or the other thing. It's preferably we would have both. And I do schedule the time for these campfire chats just so we have something going on every month. But the pull request review streams that I do, that is as I have the time and energy for it. And
mhm.
lately it's been a bit crazy, so just haven't had the time and energy for it.
You can think of these campfire chats as add-ons to what would already have been considered pull request stream time. It's just right now it's been very busy for most of us. So even if these weren't happening, we'd still do those kind of pull request streams. It just depends on when and if the time is there. But having these every month scheduled and being able to talk with the community and players and people outside of the Discord and things like that really helps us as developers, people, players of the game, and just everyone in general. So I don't see that that's kind of like a worse thing than a pool discussion thread. It's a different thing. So
Yep.
uh, did you answer Elmona Peter in Twitch chat? I don't. He types a lot, so I don't know which one you answered.
I've been looking at some of it.
Okay. So like
Uh,
the latest things are saying we should have a
oh yeah,
storyboard and work on it.
we
We
got something
do
in the works.
yeah, we're working on kind of like an outline for what our priorities are in the coming future. Again, not to say that we're absolutely doing this and absolutely nothing else. But once we kind of get that all sorted out, we'll throw it out there for everyone to see.
Yeah. Then what about a faction or function where they disable you, board you, triggering a mission text where they do the first contact mission on your ship? We would need to add an extra mission trigger for that because we can trigger
That's
missions if you
possible.
board an NPC ship, but we can't trigger missions if an NPC boards you right
That'd be
now.
interesting.
Yeah, that would be curious. It never made sense why the remnant are for the remnant just to kill you. Uh, when there are a lot of things that need to happen for you to be there. They love information, don't they? I mean, yeah, that
Yeah,
is
but
a good look at
I
things.
think the whole alpha thing, like they do give you a second chance with that. If you say you're an alpha or you don't like agree to take the test, they'll kick you off the planet, and then they're like, okay, are you sure about that? And then if you keep saying no, that's on you. Alpha, get out of here. We're just making fun of the way we say alpha. Alpha, alpha, alpha.
Unmute. right now. Unmute.
Yeah, you say
Say
it.
it.
You say it.
Say it. Unmute.
Yalfa.
No balls.
He has to go get his phone. Oh,
Alpha.
Say it again.
Alpha.
He
Oh,
left the channel. All right, I'll have to review that footage. Fu says this open source game has much better communication than some others, like Bar. Good job, devs. I don't know what Bar is,
Don't. Yeah.
but
Nope.
I'll tell you what. We're better than AAA games. A lot of those, ooh, nasty.
Says, hey, I think the crew system needs a rework. In the general sense, we're thinking about it, yeah. But this little comment says, I can hire humans in every single star system, and it doesn't make sense. And why don't we do it for different species? Just ease of access. We don't want to make it so you hire specifically this species person from this planet, or you're running low on crew and you captured something and you land in alien space and all of a sudden you can't do anything about it. Same thing for credits too. Credits are universal. It's all for the sake of gameplay.
Yeah, the economics of the
hardware.
game and like who's manning your ships, those aren't intended to be very in-depth mechanics in the game. It's intended to be very simple. So it is just a bit of a gameplay contrivance that you can hire crew anywhere. Like maybe they're not all humans. Maybe you are literally hiring wanderers to help you out if you land on a wanderer planet, but that's up to you to roleplay on your own.
Yeah.
Doom says, isn't there that trick that humans can do to make more humans? Well, what if you only have one? What if you're the only one left on your ship and you have to recrew? What do you do then? You bud? Like a sponge? Mitosis, says Cornier. Yeah.
All right.
Got a big message here from Vahalal. On the topic of the Republic campaign, it seems to me that you said that the roadblock at the moment is the lack of a human willing to implement it. However, I'm wondering how it can ever become a real thing. Years ago, I was dreaming about the day that it would finally be implemented, but today I can't see how we could make the bad guys someone we sympathize with and someone the player could potentially be willing to join. Would the player only help the Republic out of self-interest? Who says they're the bad guys? From the Free World's perspective, they are. But from the Republic's perspective, they have their own reasons for doing what they do. Part of the idea of the introduction of every campaign, at least among the human campaigns, is to have each introduction cast that faction in the best light possible. How exactly that's done for the Republic or the Syndicate campaign is up to debate, but the idea is like, hey, every side has its reasons for why you would conceivably join them. Now, for each individual person, maybe you still wouldn't join one side or another for whatever reason, but the idea is that there should be at least some possibility that someone out there would be like, you know what, I can see why I would join this faction. Then, as the campaign continues on, you uncover a bit more from the story to realize, like, oh, hey, maybe these guys aren't all they were chalked up to be, you know? Maybe things aren't so peachy clean, aren't so rosy as I was led on to believe. I feel like in some respects, the Free Worlds campaign isn't perfect in its changing of its portrayal of the Free Worlds campaign. I feel like the entire way along, they're still kind of like, oh yeah, we're the good guys. There's nothing that we've ever done that's terrible. But it's part of what I've kind of wanted to work on. But that's the idea, at least. So if the question is, well, how do you ever make it so that somebody would be interested in the Republic and joining them? Well, I mean, I could just say there's been lots of people over the years that have been like, hey, when can I get a Navy license? When can I join the Navy? When can I do a Republic campaign? You know, so there is at least interest among people who are already playing the game. Why have I been mentioned? Oh yeah, we can skip that one.
Yeah.
No, read it. What is it? Says sure. They'll never know.
It says, when are we
To the
adding the
person who
afterbirth?
opened a
And I said
question,
no.
to the person who posted a question on March 29th, 2024 at 1:11:05. um, no, there's no news. we have no further progress to report. In some undefined time zone, yes. I don't know what the time zone these are displaying in is. Is it local? Is it mine? I don't know. If you remember when
I
you
think
posted the question, the answer is
it's ours. It's ours.
no
The bottom of
progress.
these are 8 o'clock or 8 o'clock. What? 9 o'clock.
Warp says he sees the same time as me. Okay, then we're never gonna know.
Okay. All right.
It must be Wanderer revealed, says Azure. What is the question again? It's a question which we will not specify.
It's a question for the guy on my walls. It's not a
Yeah,
joke.
yeah. It's
All
a
right.
private question. We'll keep it private.
Yeah. All right. What about Wanderers having some skeletons in the closet? Huh? Okay, next
Religious
question
fanaticism.
is, in the previous campfire chat, you mentioned the possibility of wilder.
Wilder.
I mean, I guess it could be both. Balance changes. How do you feel about the proposed proposal to limit the number of thrusters slash steering slash reversers slash afterburners that you can install, similarly to how gun ports and turret mounts are treated at the moment? If you think this is a good idea, what do you think the limit should be, and how do you think they should be determined? Note that this will break all ships in the game that were required before this change, as they won't have slots, hence wilder.
Well, we kind of already had that debate. Zich has opened a pull request to make it so that engines behave like weapons in that a ship only has so many engine ports, just like a ship only has so many gun ports. Let me link that. The general gist of the discussion was this isn't the best approach to any potential issue it's trying to solve. That has been followed up with another pull request to add quote-unquote accessory slots for installing afterburners to limit the number of afterburners you can install and make it so that you need to install thrusters before you can install afterburners. I think for just engines, I don't like the idea of trying to limit engines by anything other than engine space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can see a world, though, in which we change how afterburners are installed.
I do too. Because when I think, I know some people have been saying this in the PR, but I think afterburner, in game right now, it is kind of true that because you can only use afterburners, and yes, that's something we've had mechanics built around for a while. Afterburners are, dare I say, realistic. In real life, it's an engine, like blasting. There's a way to say this. I can't say it right now. I don't know why. But afterburners are meant to be like kind of putting full thrust through an already existing engine. It's not an entirely separate device in itself. In the EV series, it was just kind of made that way. It was kind of this idea that, oh, you spend like 5 tons extra on this outfit, and all of a sudden you have the ability to use that kind of thrust. But also in the EV series, you could only ever get one. So I do think there's a little bit more merit to having this have some sort of restriction slash limitation than just having them. You can do whatever you want with them. I'm not entirely convinced yet that that's worth making it so you can't customize your ships, but I feel like there's a balance somewhere in there that we can kind of come to. So it really depends. And don't quote me. I see that.
Yeah. Afterburners are an engine blasting quote, Sog. So this is actually what I thought of earlier, and I was going to propose it at some point. The Legendary M says, what about afterburners being made as a sort of multiplier to the existing engine thrust? that way, you need to still install thrusters. And the afterburner, like the actual push of the afterburner would be submultiple. Given that it's submultiple, that means that you would still want to install better engines to get more thrust out of them, or out of the afterburners. I was thinking of that, actually. I was potentially going to propose that, but it'd be a massive change to how afterburners work.
Yeah.
So,
Still something to, I think, consider. The engine one was kind of more so like a lot more restrictive and
refer to afterburners.
killed a lot of builds. So, but this one, I think, has a lot more like sense behind it. Hurts to think. Yeah, I hate that.
Isaiah says, what about making some afterburners work by making literal explosions that consume 50 fuel every second? What was the name of that? What was that? That was like a design of a nuclear bomb powered ship. Orion Project. Yeah. That's like Orion Project stuff. Orion Drive. Yeah. I knew it started with an O. I was trying to, and I was thinking Omega, but I was like, it's not Omega. It's something else. Nuclear pulse propulsion, says Doom. Yeah. If you've never heard of that before, look up the Orion Project. The idea was to have a ship with a bunch of nuclear bombs inside. You would chuck them out the back and blow them up behind the ship, and that would push you forward.
I knew you were going to say something, Marksman. SMH my head. That's my thing.
Yeah. Doom says it's an interesting idea. I assume talking about the multiplying afterburners, but it make them too good for big ships and too weak for small ones, I suspect. Are you referring about the multiplier? Yeah, that probably. Would it though? Because smaller ships are going to have better thrust to weight ratios to begin with. Thrust to mass for acceleration, that is. Corner and a few other people earlier I saw say just make it so the afterburners give a lot more heat. Good.
Negative ram scoop effect. I mean, wouldn't we just
That's
make
just
it
fuel
more
consumption.
fuel?
Yeah. Hector says heat is fairly easy to deal with. Yeah. We could see.
Yeah, because a lot of the concerns with afterburners is on the larger ships where you can just stack a whole bunch of them, have infinite fuel regeneration. And, yeah.
I will say too, in addition to buffing the existing afterburners, we've also added a lot more afterburners. So
yeah. Some of them still need to be tuned.
I remember when afterburners sucked and you would never install them.
Yeah, now everyone's like...
And now it's like a massive debate on how to balance afterburners. Yeah. All because I was like, you know what? Fuck it, we ball. And I like 4x buffed afterburners.
I remember when it was just afterburner singular.
They were always two, though.
Ionic
do it again, says Benny. Azure posting this graph again for some reason.
Ionic is too loud? What do you mean? It's amazing. One of the best sounds in the game.
Ionic AB sound is great. I listen to it at night. It's Azure's white noise that he goes to sleep with.
You've been conditioned to think it's loud just because you keep coming across to Houch's personship when you're not expecting it.
Yeah. Anyway, next question: can we get a slow motion mode? It would make big battles more than just a gamble. We do technically have a slow mode. Remove fast forward, says Azure. Yeah, we do technically have a slow mode in that if you launch the game in debug mode, then you can cut the game down to half speed. I think it is. Increase fast forward. Jeez, remove normal speed? No, but I feel like adding a slow mode is a band-aid fix. I think the real issue is just that base combat is a bit too quick, which is why we've talked about like mass changes to heck, just combat in general is too fast. Yeah,
Remove
we've talked
time.
about mass changes to make it so the bigger ships move slower. We've talked about cutting the DPS of all weapons in human space, so that just combat in general in human space takes a lot longer.
Hmm.
Legendary M asks, more fast forward options, 2x, 3x, 4x, and a half speed slow mode.
Why?
We've thought about it in the past. I think the main issue with some of this though is that if you're not aware, the game works by tying your frame rate to the tick rate of the physics. So it's not like Minecraft where ticks are 20 ticks per second, but your frame rate can be whatever. No, every frame is also a tick. So if we when we're showing when fast forward is enabled, what's actually happening is we're just only drawing every third frame, or every second frame, or every fourth frame if we were to do 2x and 4x. If we were to do half speed, we would need to draw a frame and then wait for the length of a frame, then draw a frame, then wait for the length of the frame. So you're technically cutting your frame rate in half to do half speed. And it starts to now. Granted, that's dropping 60 FPS to 30 FPS. Some people are going to complain about that. Many may not. Yeah, Doom says 30 FPS is plenty. I know a lot of people who are like, no, I need at least
Yeah.
144 FPS. I need at least 250 FPS. So any lower than half speed though would definitely start looking choppy.
Yeah.
But we can think about it. Isn't it bad design to have physics depend on a constant frame rate? Maybe, but we're kind of stuck with it. It's no small undertaking to decouple those two things.
Your
Also,
eyes
a
gonna
lot of
have
games
to.
do that more often than you would think. They just do it in a funky way. They Cause like what was it? I know that I've messed around with Unity a bit, and one thing I've seen in Unity is you can use, I forget what it's called, but there's some there's some like timer object you can get that tells you the time since the last frame, and you would use that to multiply all of your changes. So like if you want a character to move like 10 units per second, then you would take that speed and like multiply it by the time since the last frame. Therefore, if your frame rate is 10 or if it's 600, then it's moving at the same speed because the physics are still tied to the frame rate, but you're multiplying the actual movement up and down to change with the frame rate. A lot of games do that, if you weren't aware. Um, but at least some that I've seen. But then there's like funky things that can happen. I don't know. But yeah, it's in any case, it's a bit of an undertaking. Zora says, one-on-one combat isn't that fast at any tier. The core issue is that Endless Sky throws massive fleets at the player who's expected to run a single ship.
So I'll say this. I and Warpcore, if he wants to say anything about this, are doing these new playthroughs for Free Worlds content at the moment, and to test the mass balance changes. And so these first couple of Free Worlds fleet battles, generally you can do them without even fighting them. So because like there were a couple of times where I'd fly off the screen and the battle would just be over anyways. But so I'm still kind of getting to those later battles. I do see what you mean, at least by that. These kind of battles is like up until this point, you're usually flying one or a few ships, or maybe like there's a couple merchant fleets that have like 4 or 5 ships in it. But then you have these free worlds battles that have at least like 12 ships each side. Um, random fleets, random fleets can spawn. Screw you. It depends. But so I do see like the concern that fleets are large, but there's still, again, this is just what the fights I've played recently. They still play out generally how you expect it would. It's not one big like one side loses. But I will say this: if you unfortunately catch yourself closer to the fleet than another ship in your escort fleet, you will get blasted. Yes. um. So I guess what you're saying, I can understand. I see it's there. So what would you Well, first let me let Derpy and Warp respond. But are these fleets massive? Should we do something about it? Should we kind of like take a few ships out of each fleet, still have them equal, but or something like that? I don't know.
I mean, Warp says what Hector said. Hector says, I mean, you never really get thrown against a massive fleet without an almost as massive fleet on your side. And Warp follows up with, you aren't going up against them on your own. The difficulty is if you get prioritized by the opposing fleet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Benny says, to be honest, I'd make Free World's battles standardized instead of randomizing their fleets. They
aren't randomized.
basically all are.
They're all defined in the specific mission. They don't. Some of them use defined fleets. Yes, they pull from a variant fleet, but the main ones are defined within the mission itself. You know? Okay, so what do you mean by randomizing them?
Zipper says the randomization is where the ships are.
Or where the ships are, so like where they're present in the system when it starts. That also kind of depends on if it's a mission where you're jumping into a fleet battle or if they're jumping to you, I guess.
Benny says, be back checking the data files to make sure I'm not mistaken. I mean, I know there's a few missions here or there that do use random fleets, but it's typically fleets that you're not intended to fight, or it's pirate fleets.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the big like battles go, those are sat fleets.
Banana says, I think you could vary it up, reduce some of the battle sizes, or add a few missions so you're doing side quests or reinforcing flanks. Well, a lot of these battles, I don't think is something that you can reinforce a flank for. These aren't kind of like built up into invasions. A lot of it happens suddenly, and a lot of the story response to that was being, "Oh no, the Navy just invaded such and such," or "Oh no, aliens from who knows where came." You know, a lot of it isn't really predictable, and that's part of the nature of the invasions and things like that. I will say this: I personally, again, this might be different from what the others have been saying. Think that some fleets maybe we could take a ship or two out of and kind of tone it down a little bit. That's not to say take half of a fleet out or 2/3 of a fleet or 1/3 of a fleet out even. But do I think there's room to kind of adjust things a little bit here and there? Sure. But banned? Oh, okay, I'll stop talking.
Benny says I am wrong. Okay. Let it be known that Benny is wrong.
Oh, you're wrong. Oh, okay, yeah, you're banned. I'm sorry.
Goodbye. All right. Next is a meme. Solve X and Y by asking my X. Why? Okay. After that, yeah. The way Endless Sky handles backwards compatibility, which as far as I know is to never ever break a save file or a plugin, hampers development in some ways. Would it be possible to shift to a model of breaking compatibility on major releases? So next at 0.11, whenever that is decided on, while maintaining it through minor releases. I won't say we've never broken a plugin, but we should. Yeah. I think we should definitely never break saves.
The only time we would ever do that, and this is not a guaranteed thing, right? This has been like mentioned before. The only time that would ever happen would be when we feel like the game is complete. When we feel like we've finished every part of the core game. This means like we've filled the galaxy, we've completed main campaigns, we've completed other missions, added all the mechanics we feel like we should have added, language and stuff like that. At that point, sure, we maybe I don't know, someday be like, okay, now this is the official release of the game. It is out of beta, and from here on, it's going to be patches to fix stuff, or maybe this or that. But that's way someday. I probably won't be there then. but I don't know. Maybe I will.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it
if
just says
anything,
remove
that'd
deprecated
be
stuff when 1.0 comes out. I mean, at some point we probably
yeah.
will go through and
Yeah.
like remove a lot of the old stuff that's there just for the sake of compatibility with all
Yeah.
save files. Because right now, if you had a save file from like 0.9 and you brought it forward to now 0.10.6, and you were in the middle of a story, but that story has changed over the years since 0.9, it should still work for you to move forward from there.
Mhm.
Things might be a little nonsensical because maybe story elements have changed, but everything should still, generally speaking, work. Nothing should break. You shouldn't be forced to create a new pilot. But at some point, we might remove those, so we would only have an expectation of from one version to the next, we can guarantee safe compatibility. But if you're like X number of versions out of date, then we can't guarantee it. That isn't to say that we will intentionally go about breaking things, though. And
Yeah.
just to respond a bit more to what the question is actually saying, the way the ES handles backwards compatibility hampers development in some ways. I would like to know what ways you think that development is being hampered by this insistence to maintain save file compatibility. So whoever you are, because this was posted after we started, whoever you are, reveal yourself if you so wish. How do you think that things are being hampered? Because I don't feel like things are
Yep.
particularly hampered in terms
Yep.
of like whenever I want to make a change that would break compatibility. Well, I just keep the old thing in there and I make a new thing on top of it. I'm being hampered, says Benny. Explain yourself, Derpy said calmly, says Zora. Yeah. Azure says it prevents me from renaming railgun.png. Critical fixes are being hampered, or being denied. Warp says outfit sprite names or renames are perfectly fine. Yeah, it's the ship renames that are a bit more difficult because the path to the ship image exists in your save file if you have a ship of that type. So if we rename a ship image, then that will cause the ship to basically become invisible in your save file if you already had it. I don't think that's really like I don't think that the names of the assets need to match the names of the objects in the game though. If you've looked to like any game really, they
It's
never
kind of more of a
match.
convenience thing than it
Yeah,
is
like
a necessity.
I've I remember I was watching a video recently on the Tau gun in Half-Life 1. It was like everything you need to know about the Tau gun or something like that. All its quirks and whatnot. In the code, it's called the Gauss gun or the Gauss cannon, something like that. But at some point, they wanted to rename it to the Tau gun, but it was easier just to rename the display name. So like in game, you see it as the Tau gun, but in the code, it's the Gauss gun because it would have broken things to rename it in the code, or it would have taken a long time to do that and make sure nothing was broken.
Mhm.
Warp says you should just be happy you can see the individual files. Because, yeah, like every other game, it does like weird compression so you can't access stuff. Fu says, I think it's important to keep backwards compatibility so you don't need a new start every update. Player retention. To be fair to whoever asked the question, they weren't saying break compatibility every update. They were saying every time a new major version comes out, 0.11, 0.12, then break compatibility. Which, that I think is a bit more reasonable of an ask. But I would still want to know where things
Why?
are being hampered where that would make sense to
Yeah.
do. Silent says the wilder changes that require all ships to be updated is something that'll break saves/compatibility. Well, it wouldn't really break them. You would just have ships that behave way differently than everything else. Or your ships would become unusable if you uninstall outfits from them. But it's a bit different than breaking them, you know? It's just hampering them. Your save file becomes hampered.
Good night, Doom.
Yes, Doom is leaving, so good night. When can we get a random food fight event?
Make one.
Yeah. Zora asks, would it be possible to make a failsafe in-game for something like that? Something like that being broken sprite calls. That is, if the game fails a file name check, go back to the original ship definition and see if it's in the ship. See if its sprite is different. Yeah, potentially. I do kind of wonder sometimes, like, why did MZ make it so that the ships save to the save file, but the outfits don't? I know I've seen them say in the past, it's like, so if a balance change happens, your existing ships don't become unusable or in a broken state. But we could make the same changes to the outfits and get you in that state as well. I'm not imagining we're going to change that anytime soon. Like, what would be the use in changing it? Outfits, definitely. Oh, no, outfits we definitely would not save the data to. Because we needed, like, outfits wouldn't be fungible anymore. That's probably why. Outfits are fungible, ships are not. For the most part. Yeah, that's why. My last feedback for the campfire. Please make the next chats earlier. I mean, they've all been early.
Yeah.
This is the one time we've done it late.
We have gotten a different bit of an audience this time. If you guys are new here, or if you haven't been able to make any to other times, sound off real quick. I'm kind of curious how many of you this time works better for you than when this started. 6 hours before that is when we usually start. Yeah, people in like in Australia or yeah, Greg enjoy these ones. So
I mean, Grace,
it's not like
right
we
now.
like, yeah, totally great.
I see you.
I
You've
just
called out.
woke up. Yeah, we wouldn't like explicitly do it at this time, but I feel like it's still worth having them at this time every now and then as well for those who can't meet the other
Eternal
ones.
lurker.
Yeah.
Hector says, I believe campfire chat should be at random times decided by a fair rigged lottery.
Rigged in parentheses.
Hey, yeah, fair in parentheses rigged.
Not Azure gave us a not question, so I'm not going to say that.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Viable pathway to piracy missions, for example, gaining pirate standings via smuggling missions, and better gameplay-based distinction between pirates and anarchists? Question mark. Yes.
Get into it.
Whoever says it's not a question, move on. It had a question mark.
It's kind of like it's asking within itself, kind of.
Thoughts? Question mark. I mean, yeah, the intention
Yeah.
is to eventually have it so that pirate gameplay is a bit more has a bit more depth to it.
Mm-hmm.
And this might be one such distinction that is made.
The distinction between pirates and anarchists is pirates are those enemies you fight in the sky, and anarchist is one of the developers.
Putting a question mark at the end of it something doesn't make it a question. Question mark, says Warp. No, it does.
Who's gonna tell him?
My previous message exemplifies the case it describes? No, I don't think it does, actually.
I think you're just hearing things.
Yeah, Hector says you can currently become friendly with pirates if you do a few jobs for them. Yeah. I thought it depended on the job, but did we make it so that every single one Gives you reputation now.
Anarchist is showing the forbidden Void Sprite outfit image in
Forbidden image.
Discord chat that you can only see if
What
you
is
look at the
that?
files. That's
What the
the
mouth
mouth.
juice is banana.
What's funny? One of the Gegno drills is actually just that, except beveled. I did that intentionally. No one's gonna know though, because no one can see the Void Sprite part.
If you're
Unless you
brave
look at
enough,
the game
says
file.
McSour. Or McCowser. All right. Well, the next three things are
Memes.
yeah. Well, the next four things actually are all memes. Add Regeni as an emote, you cowards. I don't even know what that is. Merge Midnight Trilogy. I don't even know what that is. Merge Omnis. I don't
do.
even know what that is.
Huh?
I'm kidding.
Spoken like a true what is it? I don't even know the name of
I
yours.
want to smuggle guns to the Gegnos. Okay? That's just
I'll
a
think
Rickroll.
about it. That's an empty box. That's an empty box. That's also an empty box. Look at all these empty boxes.
Spoken like a true dev. Merge Patir 2. It's on the bottom of the to-do list. The
That's
very
pretty cool,
bottom.
though. Yeah, true.
Merge Avgi. That's not even on the to-do list.
It will be someday.
Add Unicode support, you coward. It's not a question of bravery. It's a question of somebody do it.
Is it done, Zip?
Oh yeah, we should probably finalize that copyright stuff. Animated planets. You should be able to animate planets already.
Yeah.
Any
Someone listed the YouTube content or comment link, and I'm not clicking that. It's just gonna be Rickroll.
XCQ. That's Rick Roll. You don't recognize the
Oh, I see. Yeah.
the watch ID. You don't have the watch ID memorized.
Not yet. I don't. Don't try me.
Starts with DQW, ends with XCQ. Not to be confused with XQC. More space junk, which you get praised for cleaning up? Question mark.
How so?
I don't know how you would be praised for cleaning it up. And when I say that, I mean like mechanically. Like, I don't know how we would do that. Space junk is a myth, sure.
Okay, now there's another YouTube link, and I bet it's just going to be a slightly different Rickroll.
With a hug, says Benny Lux.
I mean, they straight up say there's a mission for subsidiarials that talks about, hey, someone pulled in another space cow thinking they're special.
Isn't that a plugin?
Is that a plugin?
I swear that's a plugin. So somebody messaged me a few weeks back, and they were like, "Hey, I'm streaming the game. Do you want me to where would I post my streams?" I'm like, "Well, you can use Stream Chat." And then I watched the guy's stream, and I saw that mission, and I'm like, "Does this guy like jump into the plugin experience right away?" And I was like, "Wait a minute, is this a plugin?" So I had to check, and I couldn't find the mission in vanilla. I'll tell you that. Then I saw some other stuff where I was like, oh, that's definitely a plugin because he had like guns that didn't exist in vanilla and space. There was space junk, like it was called space junk. You blew it up and there was a bunch of commodities that came out of it. So there's already a plugin out there for that if you want that. Sure says, I unironically think we should treat the subsidiary as an Easter egg. I mean, that's what all person ships are.
Yeah, person ships don't exist within the world of the game's lore.
I think we do spawn them in though.
They spawn in the Ember Waste event for...
Yeah, there's an Ember Waste event that spawns them in. As fleets.
I don't know.
New alien commodities? Unlikely. Because that's kind of in that idea of...
Yes, I'm talking.
Yeah, that's kind of in that idea of we don't want like economic stuff to be too in depth, and adding more commodities would be a part of that. I recognize I've been neglecting Twitch chat over here, but it's only one person. Element says, where was I, actually? I think most of the game devs have no aim comes from the lack of a story. It seems like the story is made up as you go. I mean, isn't that everything? No, I'm joking. There is a overarching idea to some of these things, but it's very, very amorphous, very subject to change. So there definitely is an element of things are kind of made up as we go, which I definitely recognize can lead to some inconsistencies, which it already has before. Hector says, Endless Sky should be nonfiction. Make it. Make it so. Be the change you want to see in the world.
Go invent the hyperdrive.
Become Charles Plot. Are watches still planned? Planned, yes.
Someday.
Revert the watchers. They're not even in the game.
Done. Just like that, bam.
Are the plans still watched? Yes.
Element says, can we have a person ship that is an amalgamation of the server? You know what's funny? When I was doing artwork streams and just kind of farting around doing ships to kind of show people how I do it, I was thinking, like, what if I made like a stream ship for everyone who comes to these chats? So, like, I've actually thought about a person ship that just kind of like one big, this is everybody kind of ship. Not like physically big, but oh no, they just say Elemental just says after that, I'm gonna start the turf wars. All right, I gotta go.
Ayo. Yeah, be careful what you wish for when you say that Endless Sky should be nonfiction.
The Pug are closer than you think. Remember, they come earlier in the history than you think.
Hector says questions are being added to the sheet faster than they're being answered. These aren't questions. These are just YouTube links now.
What did we say that like the saucer ships in the sky were? What packs did you say with those? The
I
Pug?
have no idea.
I think we talked about the Pug being like the insert aliens visiting Earth thing, like early in humans history. You never know.
All right, well, we're closing in on the 2-hour mark, so I think we can
Like
wrap this up.
45.
Open the Twitch link, you cowards, says Ann. No.
Hour 45 because you're late.
I know, but an hour 45 is still approaching 2 hours.
I suppose. So yeah, if there's any like last questions here,
Yeah, any final thoughts? Any final discussions to have? Core member party when? Sog, you plan these.
I'll let you know.
Azure asks, may I ask how long I have to wait for anyone to look at the AVGI? You may ask. I don't know. Admittedly, I'm not sure. These are I can't see that far into the future.
I think it's worth at least saying that once we kind of get into these gears of working on the loose ends in the game, I don't think it will take as long as what might have been perceived over the years because we haven't done anything with it at all. So us kind of having the momentum to push onto these things, I think is going to have them done faster than what you would think they'd be done. It wouldn't be like 4 more years for the main campaign or something like that, but someone posted a really big comment. Changing how jumping between systems works. I don't love how you don't have to interact with pirates or any ships while jumping around the galaxy. Good weapons and agile ships rarely matter if you can just keep jumping freely. On top of this, even if you have ships that can't jump quickly, you don't need to protect them as long as your own ship is fast, because ships aren't in danger of it if they're in another system. Going to the second problem, I was thinking you could add gates to outskirts of systems that you had to physically fly through, having to fly across system to travel them, or having faster flying ship would get you to the next system sooner. Additionally, the gates would have a central location that keep you near the planet so you don't run away indefinitely before jumping the way out. So this kind of stuff's been brought up before, and it's kind of counterproductive to us having arrival distances, because a lot of players were actually complaining that they died too much before jumping, whereas this comment is saying people aren't dying enough or interacting enough before jumping, and it's too easy to escape things. So it's very much a smaller perspective on what's been happening in the game.
Knave?
Yeah, it's
yeah,
just Knave. It's literally just Knave.
That's what Knave does. Eve
Um,
Online?
Yeah. I think I don't know. What is the concern of jumping easily? Are you saying people need to fight more before jumping? Are you saying like I'm not sure what the problem is with people being able to jump from system to system pretty easily? Because especially in human space, I mean, technically anywhere, there are weapons that knock you out of jumping, and if you don't have a scram drive, then you will. It does kind of mess you up, and if you're not paying attention, especially in smaller ships, and you're jumping, sometimes if something's hostile in the middle of the system, it can blast you while you're mid jump and you'll die. So I guess I'm not really sure. You want to think about think about your fleet more? Well, if you're flying around with like 10, 20, 30 ships, then that's not the game doesn't really expect you to have a fleet like that. So if you're flying around with like 1, 2, or 4 ships or something like that, yeah. But I'm assuming this is for massive fleets that can just ignore everything. Which again, the game doesn't really expect you to have stuff like that.
Azure says, I think something should be done about leaving escorts behind, to be honest, for missions, I mean. Yeah, probably.
Do you
Definitely.
mean by like you could just go there and
The
then
fact that you
avoid
can
it?
leave the system, and if a ship isn't in the system,
Yeah,
no combat occurs. Therefore, if you leave the
yeah.
system, the ship is now completely safe. And it's kind of counterintuitive. You would
Mhm.
think that with an escort mission, you should, escort the ship, not have it chase you down when you just jumped 20 systems across the galaxy quicker than it could.
Yeah. A question just came into our chat. Wow. All right, last one on this list. Then I guess we can rapid fire and we'll be out of here. How do you feel about having enemy ship surrender if you have a 100% chance of capturing the ship? So there was a PR open on this before that I think we've ultimately decided that it's not something that really we feel would be appropriate for the game. But I mean, while we're asking it, might as well say what we think here. So
If you have a 100% chance of taking the ship, then what purpose does the surrender button do? Warp says just capture it. Yeah, like if you can capture it with a 100% success rate, then capture it. If you make them surrender, then what happens? Do they become a part of your fleet? Like, where does that crew go? Where does the crew of the ship go if you didn't take them out? Out the airlock, says Azure. In which case, you still have to spend your. If you're still killing them all, you still have to have your crew man the ship that you just stole. But if you don't have to do that, then that's just making it so that you can capture more ships before having to land to recrew, which is basically a boarding buff.
is this purely for the sake of pacifism, or I guess I'm not sure what is that the whole reason to have this as an option. I'm not really sure what the intent is here. So, even if you don't kill them, I still feel like stealing someone's like life and their job is not pacifism. But at that point, do we have to nuance pacifism that much? Why wouldn't you just buy your own ship? I mean, and I guess this is still capturing it, so you are avoiding a price by that. But
Okay, this is
I feel
funny.
like
Benny Luck says add option to debate boarded ship's crew in the marketplace of ideas. Here's why
oh,
you should give me your ship.
3 reasons as to why
Here's
I
my
should own your ship.
5-paragraph essay on why you should hand over the keys to your ship to me right now. 1, you have a family, don't you? Trade offers is right. Yeah. Damn, fleece. That's fleece. I ain't even gonna say that out loud.
Anyway, yeah, I receive your ship. You receive.
Nothing. The sweet embrace of the vacuum of
You
space.
lose. Good day, sir. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like there's not enough merit to have that as a mechanic.
Yeah.
and there's too many questions on what would be the right way to deal with that kind of crew or stuff like that.
All right.
All right, I'm answering this from Zora, and then we can rapid fire question. Then we're out here. How slow am I allowed to make a vanilla candidate ship before it becomes unlikely due to the difficulty of testing? What do you mean? Are you saying how slow can I make a ship before it's ungodly slow? Or are you saying how slow can I make it before we don't want to play that game anymore because it's too slow, or play that PR or whatever? Slow engine speed? I don't know. If you're worried about making it too slow, then why is it super slow and just not static? I don't know.
PR it find out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind that the mass rebalance is impending, so
Yeah.
that will slow down the
It,
biggest ships to begin with.
if you have a good reason why it's really slow, I don't think that's a problem. But if you're like doing it because let's see how slow I can make this before people hate me, probably don't do that.
Yeah, just trying to find the line here, not actually trying to implement anything of use.
You see, not many people make content for the game and go, "How can I make this horrible?"
Yeah, what's your end game here?
Yeah, how can I make this something the player never wants? I'm not. Maybe this isn't something the player ever like has access to. I would know. I made the Gegno. I intentionally made them suck in some regards. I don't know. Like, what's the end game? That slow? Okay, all right. I think that answers the question. You're not going for that slow? All right, there you go. 95 inch space on a 256 size ship? I mean, sure. All right, rapid fire round. Let's go. One line questions.
Time frame for
HR?
HR?
Soon.
Months. And by the end of the year. That's my hope. Time frame for watchers.
Not anytime soon.
Later. Time frame for Navy campaign. You can count that in
Don't
years.
know yet.
Decades even. What are your current dev plans for the next month? No. Current dev plans for the next month. Yeah,
Wanderers.
we got some documents you want to throw
Oh,
out
not
there.
next month. Sorry.
I got
next month. Harderville.
Yes, we'll start working. Maybe not. It's not start next month. We're probably going to start this month, later this month, or restart rather. Time frame for Bone of the Deer campaign also measured in years. Time frame for 0.10.7, May. I think end of May is the current
announcement.
I haven't. Yeah, there's an event for it on Discord.
Can you get the stream next?
Time frame for the Wanda campaign.
Next, as this time, maybe not next time, but again, eventually.
Time for master balance weeks.
Yeah,
potentially not days.
Yeah, it's pretty good so far.
Ever thought of making a full rewrite of the game? For what purpose?
No. Time for pirate intro. If you mean the campaign, that'd be a late question. It doesn't. I would say not within this update.
When Lake writes it, says Benny. Yeah, there's we've already added feedback to the existing intro that's open. That needs done.
Yeah.
Time frame for Unordered's Korth intro. You can measure that in lifetimes.
Say that. No, I'd imagine that'd be along the lines of like other things outside of Wanderers and
That's a bit harsh as well.
Yeah, that is a bit harsh. We'll have to bonk him for that.
Crashed and burned.
Not sure about within the next few months. Probably not in the next few months, but we'll see.
Is there anyone planning on taking on Wanderers Part 3, or are we still rewriting Part 1 and 2? I know that Marksman has looked at some stuff for that. Actress think Derpy has been awake too long, probably.
So we'll probably work with... We'll probably get together and see what Marksman's kind of cooking, and then see where we can take it.
I know I had my own plans, but we'll see how things mesh.
That's true.
Marksman says,
Yeah, we'll have to kind of collectively look at that. Time frame for world ship renaming. Ask Warp.
Yeah, that's a Warp.
I keep telling him to do it. I think it's fine. He thinks there's one thing that needs to be changed, but I think he can just do it.
Warp
Train
just
on
kicked
4
the can
people
down
to
the road.
view. Oh my god.
He passed the buck there.
Maybe. All right.
I wish
Come
I
on,
knew.
this isn't rapid
Sure.
fire anymore.
Yeah, we're done.
Last 5 questions. Go.
5. Time frame for
Throw the
Korth Exile's
out.
Outfitter. What?
Don't know. That's 1.
Should have worded it
We're
better.
counting. Next party. I told you. I already answered that. That's 2. What's your favorite tea?
I don't drink tea.
I forget. You I can't answer it. That try.
Time frame on next Derpy stream? Don't know.
I already answered that. Okay, one more. All right, we're done.
Yeah, that's it. 3 bad questions in a row.
Blame them. All right, guys.
Dog, bro, Sen. some of you people.
Where are your parents? Who pinged the off-topic category?
Someone, I don't know.
No, I'm just saying that's where these people are coming from.
Oh. Off-topic members who never post.
Post-maxing.
All right, well.
All right.
Thank you, everyone, for showing up for today's dev stream. Thank you for being in chat. Thank you for giving us questions for us to answer. I hope it was entertaining.
If you didn't get your question answered, you can still go to the link in the pinned messages and send us the questions. And then within a month from now, we'll answer them then.
Yep. Next stream will be May the 4th.
Let's go. 4th. Really? It's on the 4th. You know we're going to be talking about Star Wars.
Yeah, it's going to be an entirely Star Wars themed stream. I'm hoping you guys bring your popcorn. We're going to be watching The Bad Batch.
Yeah.
Season 3. If you haven't seen seasons 1 and 2, I can provide them to you. All questions should be Star Wars related. Anyone who is not in Star Wars character will be banned from the server.
For everybody who's here, who's been here this whole time, I'll give you a little secret, all right? When we do our dev chats every weekend, there is an 80% chance that the last 10 minutes of it turn into Star Wars talk.
80%. I would, flip a coin and we're talking about Star Wars by the end of it.
Yeah.
What if I don't like Star Wars? Just don't show your face.
I'm sorry.
Don't show your face next month.
Yeah, thanks for coming to watch this, guys.
All right.
Hello, person who came in while we're about to end.
Yep. All right,
Do you have a question? Too late.
Yep, too late.
Yeah.
I'm in the stream.
See you guys.
See ya.